Hello everyone. Welcome to the another episode of podcast where science meet poultry sheds. I'm your host Dr. Prithviraj from Immeureka. Today we are going to talk about intersection of many things like nutrition, microbiology, immunity and ultimately flock performance. The major thing which is impacting today's poultry health is gut health and chronic inflammation. If Now, if you are managing broilers, breeders or layers, often we hear about gut health, where the performance of the flock is directly related to that, and it is not a simple one. There are complex mechanism which affecting gut health. To discuss about this in detail, today we are joined with Dr. Jayaraman, who is Sea of Knowledge over 30 years in poultry health and gut inflammation. Welcome, Dr. Jayaraman, to this special episode.
Thank you, Dr. Prithvi. I'm happy to be here to discuss about the gut health, which is a buzzword of the current scenario, a very important one.
Dr. Jayaraman, let's begin with the foundations. Why suddenly gut health become a major buzzword in case of poultry? How it is important to manage gut health? What is your opinion on that?
Gut health is very, very critical for the poultry health as well as the performance compared to all other things. The first thing what happens is you are going to give a feed. So from the feed, everything starts. The body is going to that. So the first site of contact is on the intestine, or what we call as the gut. So when you say for everything, the first the important organ in that poultry for productivity comes in the gut. So it's the big organ which is going to make more than couple of functions like it's a digestion and absorption, which is the primary. Second thing is it's the physical barrier of it's preventing the pathogens, it's preventing toxin from entering into the system. And apart from that, it's also big uh, area where the microbes are there. You know, the microbes are the one very important one which controls a lot of functions for maintaining the pH and maintaining the gut, the homeostasis, and so on. So when your gut health is not good, the microbes or get altered, you will have a trouble. And fourth, the important function of that, of course, it's also important in immunity because the gut lymphoid associated lymphoid tissues, which you call as a guard, is there in the intestine. So it's a big the area when you're going to look at it in terms of the first contact of the productivity. So gut health is going to be the number one. So if the gut health gets affected, everything goes down. So in terms of the recent buzzword is non-antibiotic production and ever
Antibiotic free products.
antibiotic-free productions and all. So even the gut health is good. Through that only you are going to manipulate. So in from the a lot of perspective, the gut health should be a very very key. Whether it be broiler, whether it's a breeder or layer. So that's why recent times you could see a lot of discussions, a lot of things are discussed upon the gut health.
Yes, sir. Probably like when productivity is not related to the only nutrition and genetics no more now. It comes to such a situation that the gut health also plays a major role.
Yes, of course. Earlier, the interactions were not well understood. Recent times, it has been well understood. That's why we say gut is the second brain of the bird, not only for the poultry, it's for the human being as well. So when it's not its best, you cannot get it the best performance. So a lot of things are going to happen through that. So that's the reason we always now more and more understandings are happening, and more strategies are coming up, and through interventions, we are able to manipulate through the gut. One of the manipulations happens mainly through, compared to other organs, the intestine is the one organ which we find a lot of manipulations are happening to get best out of it. That's why we are telling that gut health is very, very primordial.
Doctor, today's poultry scenario, farmers or vets or supervisor, they are always look for visible signs. For example, if it is a gamboro, they cut open the birds and see the bursa. If the bursa is damaged, they will relate to gamboro. Similarly, for ND or AE or many diseases. But when we talk about gut health, we were not able to see that explicitly. Mostly, it become invisible dysfunction of gut. What are the early signs a farmer or poultry producer should look into this form, where he can identify, so my flock or my gut health of my flock is not good.
This very important question, Dr. Prithvi, in the sense, today many a times the producer, they identify the problem only after it becomes little more severe or complicated. By the time they understand, already damage is being done. They often miss the subtle signs like just a little bit undigested feed particle or watery droppings, change in the color of the feces. Likewise, when it's showing some sort of indications, they have to get alert. Sometimes even the uniform weight gain will be there in cases of broilers. So these are all the few changes they should look for. When you are going to get the change in the color very prominently, like the greenish, whereas in cases of diseases, or if it's in just orange color or reddish, or maybe coccidiosis or necrotic enteritis, they will obviously find it. But when you are going to look at it, just little bit of a diarrhea or the enteritis, they often say, okay, it's so and so. They leave it. But later stages, whether it's a long-lived birds or short-lived birds, those subtle things later on leads to suboptimal productivity. By the time you realize, especially in the broilers, it's already you are done. Your economic performances will taken a beating. So that's why we often say before going in, look at the end of the life cycle, how is that performances? We always suggest to look for earlier signs like just simple enteritis or the undigested feed particle or change the color or consistency. That are the early indicators. That's how by looking at we can identify these trouble in the gut.
Okay. It seems like we should not just look the health of the birds by their activity. We also look into the litter, whether the feces or the consistency of the feces is good or not.
That's very true. That's what I usually used to do. When I go into the farms, I always look at the litter first, rather than looking at the bird. By looking at the litter consistency, color, and the litter itself, I will say the health of the bird. The people will used to ask, "Sir, what you are looking at there first? You are not looking at the bird." I said, "No, the health is there in the bottom. It's in the litter." Yes, you are very right.
Yes, quite interesting.
Before looking into the uh, gut health, there is an interesting aspect as well. It's the gut inflammation. Gut inflammation is one step ahead of gut health. Normally, we always look at the gut health by looking at the signs, but one step before is gut inflammation. That's where now most of the researchers are focused upon because you get to reach faster and prevent things faster. That's gut inflammation.
Dr. Jayaraman, now we are hearing a lot about gut inflammation or chronic inflammation. What is actually happening inside the gut?
The term inflammation is a response to an injury. That's what it's trying to repair. That's the basic thing. Uh, Even the feed is given, for example, simple thing. Even then, the bird will react. It will go there and touch the intestine. The intestine will think, okay, something has come. So there will be some amount of reaction will be there to repair it. As long as there is a measured levels of these things and it is repairing to the level of the damage, there will be no problem. But when there is more than that, what it can or what it can react or repair, then it becomes a problem. That's what it becomes inflamed. It's a response of the body to repair a damage. It could be sometimes toxins, it could be sometimes bacteria, sometimes it could be feed or poor feed, something like that. So when it's inflamed, it when it is sends some reactions and repairs. When it's not able to do that, it tends to get damaged. You can say there are 3 to 4 types of inflammation. One is you can say proliferative, wherein when the damage is happening, the assault is happening, it try to proliferate and protect it. Sometimes hemorrhagic. For example, if you're having coccidiosis, it tend to lose the blood and it is a proliferative. Sometimes even simple sterile inflammation like the fats or oxidized fats and all is coming nutritional, that ought will tend to behave it. So when you need to identify what kind of assault is happening, so it's a balance between the regular input of the materials, it could be the regular one or the infections, and the reactions of the birds when it is inflamed. That's called, it produces a reactive species. When it is inflamed, it produces a reactive species. So the containing of that is what they're all about in trying to contain it. So inflammation is a part of the process. I would not say it's a bad. It's a part of the inflammatory process, a part of physiological things.
Yeah, it's a kind of helping the birds to recover.
Recover.
Okay.
So understanding the inflammation is quite important to mitigate strategies
Okay.
to overcome that. So that's why I said few of the things.
Right, doctor. Uh, when you talk about inflammation, is it only the infections or other causes like non-infectious causes also play a major role in gut inflammation?
Yeah, definitely there are more than one causes. We can broadly say infectious and non-infectious. Infection means it could be a bacterial or viral. Non-infectious means apart from the infections, you could say nutritional and non-nutritional. If you're going to talk of infectious, the common thing which comes to my mind is mostly simple E. coli. It also creates a trouble. Or it could be other bacterial infections like salmonella or in your clostridium. So this creates a when you talk in bacterial diseases, these create a trouble. When you're looking at the parasitic one, coccidiosis is very prominent one. These are all the infectious when you can say parasitic and the bacterial. When you're looking to look at the viral side of the causes, adenovirus, especially inclusion body hepatitis, really plays a big role,
Okay.
and you will find very clear involvement on that one. And when you are say another one which is very important, which is coming through the parents, is reoviral infections. The real viral infections are there. Definitely, the gut involvement. They basically respiratory enteric orphan, what we call. Basically, they are in the enteric tract,
Yep.
and when they are there, it creates a kind of an inflammation where the bone won't grow properly.
Okay.
So when you come into the non-infectious, nutritional plays a big role. Nutritional, for example, simple, the high fiber content diet. Yes, it's a good medium for the disturbance because the fibers when you they're more the it don't get dissolved properly, so it stays there for longer period. Your the bad bacteria take upper hand and try stay there and create a trouble. Or mycotoxins, toxins I per se, chemical toxins or mycotoxins, which causes irritations to the intestine and they create. Simple, very prominent one is the T2 toxin. So when your T2 toxins are the higher level, you find quite good amount of simple enteritis will be there. Oxidized fats. when the fat is not in good value, when you are, if you say fats are not in good shape or fats or oils, you can say by
They
the
become rancid very often
rancid.
in
That's
summer
right.
months, especially.
Yeah. That's why we used to say they will look at the PB value or peroxide value or iodine value. PB value something around 10 milliequivalents per kg. High, you have a problem, or if you are going to look at it from the iodine value, somewhere
Okay.
around 70, 80 plus is not a good one. So when those acts their rancidity, they create a conditions in this thing. And uh, these amines, which is coming to the feed,
Okay.
glycerol happening into this one, or when you are going to give a fish meal, very prominently you find gizzard and the enteric lesions are there. So when you are going to look at the causes of the feed, it's a big list. Even sulfates, when you are going to use higher amount sulfate, when the total content of the feed is higher, say, for example, you are using lysine sulfate and sodium sulfate and all those things, copper sulfate, the total content of the sulfate contents, if it goes higher, you get an irritation to the intestines. Or sometimes substandard feedment coming from, for example, improperly processed choline chloride, where the TMA content is high or trimethylamine content is high, you find damage to the intestine. So the list which is coming through the feed is very quite higher. Similarly, when the non-nutritional, you can say environmental conditions. Environmental conditions, heat stress. Heat stress is a very powerful one. It produces heat shock proteins, and you get or reactive oxygen species will be very high those times. Or sometimes you're overcrowding causes that. Or sometimes if you're going to give too much of immune stimulation, for example, you are going to give too much vaccinations in the early stages of the bird or too close a vaccine schedules, you will find it the bird is continuously getting triggered. When it is getting triggered, that's also creating inflammation.
So
So this
immune stress also causing.
yes, immune stress
Yeah.
is also causing. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what we say. We put it into the group of non-infectious, means non-nutritional. So yeah, of course, this list is also there.
Okay. If you talk about respiratory diseases, many times we come across that like a combination of two infections like ND and IB or ND and mycoplasma or ND and H9 or even ammonia and other thing. When there is an interaction of diseases, you find more respiratory stress. How do you see in gut health where the interaction of diseases are happening or interaction of two factors causing inflammation happening?
This is an interesting topic, Dr. Prithvi, in the sense it's not well understood. Many a times people think it's a single entity.
Hmm.
For example, if you are going to talk on uh, the gut health, always you have to remember if you are going to look at the cocci means cocci and necrotic enteritis. They are like a twins. Normally, uh, the necrotic enteritis, or which caused by Clostridium, is always affected the damaged intestine. Where does the damage comes from? Sometimes come from the toxins, sometimes from other sources like oxidized fats and all. But also, please remember the one which is very commonly associated in this case is coccidiosis. When cocci gets affects, naturally you get to have a damaged intestine. When there is a damaged intestine, it's a very nice medium for the clostridium to get in. When the clostridium gets in and damage the cells and the plasma oozes out, and which leads to the good medium for other bacteria to these grow and proliferate and create a complex situation. So gut health, when you say these disease interactions, these two twin create much more damage in terms of respiratory infections. I'm sorry,
Gut health, gut
gut
health,
health
gut health.
infections.
Doctor, you also mentioned about mycotoxins in gut health. Can you little elaborate on this?
Yeah. Mycotoxin is one major thing uh, which affects the gut health. People will remember very well about T2 toxin, which is very common in terms of implications of the gut health. It's not only the T2, even simple aflatoxin. So when you're going to get gizzard erosions, creates a trouble, and very easily the other organisms enter into the cell, so to the body. Even dawn and fuminosin for this matter of fact. When the gut damages happens, you tend to find the gut health compromised. How it's getting compromised? When the intestine is damaged, it allows the translocation of the bacteria, it allows the translocation of the toxins, endotoxins, and exotoxins, leading to that. And when toxins are there, as a matter of fact, the gut reacts by trying to produce more amount of water and try to excrete it out. In that process, the nutrients is not absorbed. When the nutrient stays there 4 to 5 hours, it get absorbed. In this case of irritation, what it does is a natural process. The bird intestine tries to get rid of the toxins. By doing so, it push you out the nutrients as well, or the feed also. So you don't get good absorptions. So by when they are it is happening, naturally what happens in the broiler, your production goes down, average day gain comes down, and the productivity in the end of the age is not up to the mark. In the long living birds, you find the productivity issues in poor egg productions, staining on the eggs. You can find the especially the T2 toxins and all. You will find the brown color or the tarry colored staining on the eggs. When the egg goes to the market,
Okay.
you will not be able to sell at the same price. You have to sell it at the 50% of the cost, because the consumer will say this is not a good egg, or it is a stained egg. It's not nice, white, clean. So they will so the producer are forced to send you sell it at poor rate.
True.
So these economic implications are very high. But if you say whether only mycotoxin is the one creating a trouble, I would say the recent times equal to the mycotoxins, on and off, we find another toxin which is creating a trouble is pesticide toxin.
Yes.
That's an
Yes. They too.
very another one which is in the recent times market, especially Asian context, we see this.
Yeah, of course, you correctly pointed about the pesticides.
Yeah.
With the harvest coming fresh from the producers, from the agriculture field, you find a lot of cases of pesticides. How does it cause or how does it interact with the mycotoxins, or only does it interact only with the mycotoxins, or gives media for other diseases?
Sure, the interactions, if you say there could be, but still it's not well studied. But what we have seen, the pesticide toxins actually happens to the mostly grains, and to some extent to the other things, not only grains, even in the soya we are finding. When you say there are two type of pesticides which has been used, one is the storage time, another one is which is at the harvest time.
Okay.
So basically, you have got organochlorines, organophosphorus, carbonates, like that. There are different groups of pesticides are there. So when the farmers trying to protect the weevils or the pest infection, they do spray a lot.
Mm.
And when it comes to the go down and storage time, again they use sometimes your even aluminum phosphides or do something like that to keep the weevils out of the pest infection. When you are going to use those birds into the poultry, they end up in trouble. Earlier days, we know only one thing, which is theorem, which is a seed protected. The seed companies, like and other things, to use it in the seeds for the next crop, so that the quality will be good. So once the 1 year or so it's done, so they don't use it, they sell it in the market, they sell out. So those looks very nice. When it comes to that, it creates a problem. So we have seen the theorem earlier days. So that theorem testing was there. But in recent times, apart from that, these tests, these pesticides awareness has also come. When you are going to have It creates various trouble, the liver damages, kidney damages. You have sometimes changed bile color and all it you can see, and it creates. If their mycotoxins are also there, definitely they would be having more cumulative toxicity and create more trouble. We are seeing very high in recent times. I am seeing through them, especially grains.
Dr. Jayaraman, we mentioned about so many reasons for this gut inflammation. How this inflammatory cascade happening inside the body?
Yeah, that's very important to understand to have a alleviative effects. Basically, when the toxins or any assault happens on the intestine, the gut permeability goes down. When the gut permeability goes down, there is proteins beneath that, which like a bricks, it's protecting from entering the bad things into the system.
Mhm.
Now, when it is being damaged, it allows to transcellular pathway. It could be bacteria or it could be toxins. When it goes inside, the toll-like receptor gets activated and it signals the next pro-inflammatory cytokines like uh, TNF alpha or interleukins. So that creates triggers this inflammation, like proliferative inflammation, and then it further gets bones gets inflamed. So this is how this happens. And when to control it, then we have to do so many other things to control that inflammation. This is what basically happens.
Dr. Jayaraman, you mentioned about many causes for the gut inflammation. How this cascade of inflammation is happening inside the gut?
So as soon as the bird gets any assault, it could be bacterial or it could be toxins.
Mhm.
It damages the intestine first. When it damages means the lamina propria gets hit. That time the mortar or the basic one, which is the underlining, is the proteins. There are claudins, there are occludins. They are like bricks in your
Gut.
gut. Is like a bricks. They are uh, they called tight junction proteins.
Okay.
So the proteins they held together like a brick. So they with the cement and they don't allow the bad things to get into the system. So when that gets damaged, what happens is they become given away, and the entry of pathogens or toxins happens. That's what we call as a leaky gut. That means the gut is compromised, and it gets the toxins or these things gets into the system. So when they get into the system, so the boards recognizes, oh, some bad things has come. So the first thing, the immune response is toll-like receptors start getting activated. They give a signaling pathway, say something bad has come and it's here. So when TLR receptors are given the signaling pathway, then the other pro-inflammatory cytokines like tuber necrosis factor, TNF alpha, or interleukin IL-6 and all gets activated, then comes to the picture. They creates an inflammation. And this what you call sometimes they create IL-6 and all creates a proliferative inflammation. That's why the intestine gets thickened and then the nutrient absorption goes down. So this is what it is a protective mechanism through which it happens. So when this is how it reacts, the bird's body reacts to these assaults.
Dr. Jayaraman, many times any diseases, we find that we assign certain value to the disease, like ND, the mortality, or in case of IBD, you find mortality and immunosuppression and all. Gut health is mostly it is invisible. So, is there any way that the cost of loss has been estimated to your knowledge?
Yeah, it's very well estimated. Sometimes singularly, sometimes together. If you're going to look at the cost of coccidiosis alone, or if you're going to look at the necrotic enteritis, it's quite significant. Well, let us say very simply, when you are going to put down together, you will find initially the average daily gain goes down. For example, if in case of broilers, if you're going to have it somewhere around 60, 65 ADG or average daily gain, somewhere around 5 to 6 points will go down.
Okay.
And when you are going to translate into the body weight gain, and in terms of economics, you can say somewhere around 2 to 3 Indian rupees per kilo, or somewhere around 5 to 6 rupees per bird, it's going down. So it can be measured. It can be measured, and we do see very clearly when we, in fact, in the broiler productions, one of the major cause of the economics losses is mainly this one, and we are able to say roughly what the figures what I told. That's the losses because of in economically.
Yes, sir. But if you see the current placement of broilers, where it might have reached around 5 crores in a week,
Yes, yes.
then it's a huge loss.
When you see the Indian context and the amount of the placements, yes, you are right. It will be that's the loss. That's the loss. You're right.
That's a loss to our GDP.
Yes. True.
Vet or nutritionists to diagnose the things effectively in the farm premises. How we can approach in diagnosis?
Yeah, we can. There are a lot of ways to understand. Earlier, not only earlier, even recent times, we are following the very basic lesion scoring techniques for coccidiosis as well as for the necrotic enteritis. That's a quantitative methodology to understand where we stand. Now, it's becoming a kind of thing where after the damage is happening, or little bit before the damage is going to happen, it will predict. But much more sophisticated things have come in recent times. One earlier attempts was happened with the bacterioids to firmicute ratio, or will I height to crib depth ratio. For example, if you say height to crib depth ratio, somewhere between 2:1 and above, they say it's a good value. Less than that, normally value between 3 to 6, they say it's fine, and if it's going less than that, you say it's not a good one. So those kind of measurements were trying to have this thing. Recent times, more than that, better markers are coming. The biomarkers are playing a big role. Trying to measure the pro-inflammatory, these cytokines levels and all.
Okay.
So we can say, okay, to what extent it is aggravated by looking at interleukins, by looking at tumor necrosis factor TL and F. We can say toll-like receptors and all. We can say what's the level of infection, and we can quantify it. And another one is come by using the dye. So you can put a IFT dextron. It's a kind of a dye. You can give to the bird and see its concentration in the blood.
Okay.
So transfer permeability epithelial tests is there. So likewise, we have got quite good amount of these things.
Yeah.
And otherwise, another one is a measurement of calprotectin. It's also one of the biomarker. So we can look at those values and tell, okay, where is your bird is, because in a big farming, you cannot wait the birds to do the postmortem or the antemortem of these lesion scorings and trying to understand and predict it.
Okay.
But apart from coupling with that, these reliance on the slightly better, the molecular things gives a better tool. People are doing it, and it is going to be the future.
Yeah, it is good to know that where earlier we were relying on indirect assessment on lesion scoring and other thing. Using molecular marker is now become a good thing, so that we can have the definitive assessment of gut health, not just after the infection, along during the course of inflammation, we can identify it.
Yeah, earlier researchers were trying to do this for the research purpose, trying to understand a product or trying to understand how it works. Now, those tools are used in trying to look at the early prediction or warning. What this is what we call the precision diagnostics. Latest into the tool of array is these precision diagnostics is coming. Well, this is about with the biomarkers we are doing.
Dr. Jayaraman, you know that the losses is very huge. So, what are the current strategies our farmers are doing to prevent this gut inflammation and thereby preventing this economic losses?
Yeah, to start with, to prevent the gut inflammation, very simple. The basic feed has to be good, digestible, good quality feed. If you're going to give just a feed which is having a high fiber, to be having a problem. And when you're going to use good amount of the right enzymes, you get a good digestibility.
Mm.
Second is toxin-free feeds. Yes, toxin from mycotoxin, pesticide toxin, other toxins and all should not be there. So when you are going to ensure basic, this is the basic necessity, good feed, good water.
Mhm.
People sometimes underestimate the importance of water. That's the cheapest one, but it's not well understood. So when you are going to give you good quality water, you are going to see that okay, you are reducing the basic amount of the inflammation to the body. Okay, after ensuring. Okay, feed you have ensured when you are going to give these things and you are going to use the toxin binders to bind the toxin. And when you are minimizing the impact of the fiber by usage of enzymes, and feed should be free from the bacterial, bad bacterial. When the bacterial counts are total bacterial counts are higher or fungus counts are higher, they are also going to get you trouble. So when you are going to use the right amount of mold inhibitor or feed acidifiers, you are ensuring good quality feed first. Water quality, yeah, basically when you are using a good uh, water, how you define a good water with the right amount of pH, for example, 5.25, 6.5 pH, and somewhere active chlorine or what you call residual chlorine of 1 to 3 ppm. If it's there, you are going to find it. Of course, chlorine is not the only thing. Other things also there, bromide is there, peroxides are there. Basic idea is that when you are going to get you water somewhere of uh, good quality, you are going to ensure it. Okay, I am ensuring the big quality. Afterwards, when these other basic things are good housing, less crowding, when the heat stress is not there, then you have to look at it. Okay, in the case of broilers, you'll be using antibiotic growth promoters. So which is still common in context of India. Still, we are not out of it. So when you are going to use that AGPs and all, you are going to prevent the bacteria at bay, and it's also preventing the thinning of the intestine so that nutrient absorptions will be good.
Yep.
And don't forget it, before you have to ensure your anticoccidial programs are very good. So if they are not going to be good, unless your shuttling program or rotation program are not going to be good, if your cocci program is not going to be good, then the rest of the bacterial control will be very, very difficult. So after ensuring the feed, water, environment, and the bacterial control, so you will be able to see that your bird gut health is good. When these are good, gut inflammations are a check. So this is the basic things how we formulate feed, and we are trying to control the for a. I'm talking now currently for the broiler. So in general, this is how we look at it. Of course, for the long living birds, also almost the similar trend is same, but we don't use AGPs for the broilers and layers. But of course, for broilers, we do same. So when you're going to give these things, you tend to get a decent performances by base providing good atmosphere for the birds for better absorption. Of course, there are other, as I mentioned earlier, other things apart from that. and AGPs are also in the recent times coming up. That's a list is big.
Now, we find that now with the One Health approach is gaining importance, the AGPs will not be used for the longer period. We have to come out of it. Is there any other strategy in future do you experience?
Yeah, already people are started doing, poultry producers have started doing it. AGP was darling of the industry, but it's no more. People are experiencing when the One Health concept is tricking in, and we are have to rear the responsibly. The usage of probiotics, prebiotics, or combination of probiotic and prebiotic, what we call symbiotics, is gaining momentum in the earlier stages, coupled with a good amount of acidification. Is people are doing it. Sometimes when if they are looking for a good control of the AGP or something like that, phytochemicals are coming into the play. Sometimes they are also powerful anti-inflammatory as well as antibacterial. So when it is going to fit into that one, or simple sometimes usage of copper also is coming into the play in controlling Clostridium. So combination of things. It's not only one combination of practices trying to keep the gut health better by acidification and applications of phytochemicals and kind of polyphenols and the elements of non-conventional ones. Sometimes like could be like sweet chestnut wood extracts, some kind of things and all is coming into that. So you people are real feeling, yes, this is also working, and this particular strategy is also going to we can adopt in place of AGPs. People are trying currently for the fast food restaurants and all where the regulations are mandatory, but slowly that trend is becoming increasing on regular productions as well. People are trying to do that. Of course, the cost of productions is slightly higher, but in the combination and the better practices, people are narrowing down that gap very much.
Okay. Is there any way we can heal those inflammation?
Yeah, that's very important thing. Gut are definitely when they are inflamed. So you need to as well in as I mentioned earlier, in the initial stages itself you have to take care. One of the good old one is the butyrates. Of course, earlier it was a raw one and later on encapsulated. Now it has become nano, and a lot of technologies is coming into that.
Hmm.
Additionally, glutamine is also helping me to heal that one. Polyphenols is playing a big role here. Some of the phytochemicals are very, very powerful anti-inflammatory. So when we are identifying these components, these are all giving additionally, apart from addition to that, when I'm going to control the antibacterial effect, there are in recent times the products are coming up in combination of anti-inflammatory along with antibacterial. So
Okay.
when we are going to have uh, things in that place. So you find better these things. They show very remarkable uh, control of the pro-inflammatory cytokines and the markers. So we see a significant improvements in the performances as well. The
Hmm.
coming days, just like how in the human people are talking of the anti-inflammatory diet, maybe in the future in the poultry that also will be going to be we'll be talking more on that.
Okay. That was incredibly informative. To our viewers, if you suggest one key point, what it will be?
Catching up early is very critical. Once the damage happened, after that, trying to correct it or heal it, by the time, especially in the broilers, it's you have lost the race because it's a very fast growing subject, and it's you have to catch up from the beginning itself. The intervention programs have to be always a preventive one, and in the long living birds, we need to understand the age groups where it's very highly susceptible and the time period where it's required. You have to judge it and do these interventions in the earlier stages itself. As I mentioned, not only on trying to control, also the component has to be taken into account of preventing the gut inflammation as well. So when you are doing the both antibacterial properties combinations and also containing the anti-inflammatory or how you are making to make it, that in turn will give you better gut microflora and gut homeostasis, wherein the better nutrients are absorbed in the right proportion, in the right time, and in turn will give you the best productivity in both segments. This is what I would say in nutshell.
Thank you, Dr. Jayaraman, for this insightful discussion.
Thank you.
To all your viewers, poultry production and gut health start from the day one. Stay tuned for further episodes on poultry production and where science meets politicians. Thank you for watching.